Hi, my name's Tony. I'm from Washington, moved down here about a year and a half ago. And for anybody listening that does know me, I'm the fun guy. Y'all find me at the farmer's market every weekend. I grow all your delicious mushrooms, and I've recently been smoking cheese.
Hell yeah.
So
Awesome, man. So how long have you been smoking cheese?
I've actually been smoking cheese just for years. Like, it's a hobby of mine.
Uh-huh.
And it's something I learned how to do, and I am a fiend for cheese. Like, I've paid $20, $30, $40 for a pound of cheese before without blinking an eye.
And then you
like, I just love cheese. No, this was already pre-smoked cheese. This is just like good cheese. Like, I love cheese. It's one of my favorite snacks. And this is just a hobby of mine where people get to try it out.
Well, with as many diets as I've tried out, cheese is the one thing I've never given up.
Oh, yeah.
Cheese is just awesome. And that horseradish cheese that I got from you.
Uh-huh.
Dude, I still have some. I'm savoring it, but it's
I just did some for another friend of mine, and I'm mailing it out tomorrow. She got some horseradish cheddar, jalapeno, and habanero jack, and then a ghost pepper jack. So she's excited to try all that. Her kids love it. I guess her husband really loves the horseradish flavor in general, and he's super excited to try it. And I'm like, y'all gotta try it with a steak, man.
There's a few things, like I had it with the steak, and I plan on having it with some brats, and then I want to make like a Reuben or something. Ooh. It's so freaking good. Like it's like I'm not a big horseradish guy either, but it's got a kick to it, and I like it, and it just mixes so well with the flavor.
That's one of those few things where I actually can't eat it just because of my stomach. I can't eat spicy foods. No, it'll send me to it'll actually send me to the hospital.
Wow. Yeah. I love spicy foods. That's like all I try to eat.
I used to eat, like, we would do every night before we'd pull into port, we would eat pizza and wings, and me and 3 other buddies, we would do these giant, those restaurant trays.
Yeah.
And it'd be Frank's Red Hots, and we would just sit there and every mid-rats before the night before we'd come into port, that would be what the meal was.
Come into port, what do you...
Navy.
You were in the Navy?
Yep. Spent 9 years in the Navy on submarines.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So you've been in submarines?
Mm-hmm.
In the ocean?
Yes.
Underwater and
stuff? Yes. I'm one of those crazy guys.
Wow, that's crazy.
We are a special breed.
Well, thank you for your service, first of all, but man. Okay, I do have a question now about that. So being out in the ocean and stuff, do you really hear all that crazy stuff? Do you hear all the crazy, like
the creeks in the...
Well, because I see clips where people are in boats and they hear like these weird, like maybe it's whales, maybe it's mermaids, maybe it's something out there just going...
So you can hear all kinds of things, like, so the deeper you go, like that submarine that ended up sinking, because the deeper it goes, it puts all the pressure
on rich people.
Yeah. It gets all the pressure on the hull, and that's what compresses it compresses the submarine. Like, if you've ever seen Down Periscope with Kelsey Grammer, it's old as hell. It's like early '90s, I think it is.
The Down Periscope.
Yeah,
I'll make a note of that.
It's a movie where it's a submarine movie that it's as far as like life on board goes, it's pretty accurate as far as like the humor and the banter that goes back and forth and everything else. But so they show something in there where they're submerging and they've got a string tied across from one end of the hull to the other, and as you submerge and go deeper, as the hull compresses, you actually watch the string go from super tight to a huge bow in it. You can actually take a styrofoam cup and it'll actually compress.
In the submarine?
Inside the submarine because of the pressure.
What does that do to you?
We have the human body actually adjusts to it a lot easier than like the styrofoam cup or the string does. But there's also all kinds of atmosphere control equipment on board to try to help take care of that. And
imagine somebody on the submarine at least gets a headache.
Oh yeah.
At the very least.
Oh yeah. There are times where we were doing super secret squirrel stuff and can't come up and ventilate for a long time, and so you got to watch your oxygen percentages, and you can definitely feel the effects when that gets low.
Jeez. What's the deepest you've gone?
I can't tell you.
No.
I can tell you in excess of 150 feet. A lot further than that.
Jeez.
So, yeah.
Have you seen some shit that kind of made you like question life, like in like underwater?
There's no windows on submarines.
No.
So
all that stuff in the movies are not real?
Yeah, that's crap. Okay. That's all crap. There is a periscope and everything. could potentially work if they're set up for certain things. But again, that's a very specific case and circumstance and takes a lot more. But yeah, no, we don't. There's a periscope that we use at periscope depth, which is the tiny little thing that pokes out of the water and you can kind of look around with it. But no, you're not seeing, at least not on military submarines.
So, aside from submarines, I'm assuming you've been on boats too?
I've toured a couple surface ships, just kind of to say I could, but I was primarily all on submarines. So
that's crazy, man. That's cool. That's okay. Was it cool at the time for you, or
it was? I will always tell people that when I was in, it was hands down the best and worst time of my life, at the same time. Why? Because the amount of stress that you go under for no reason sometimes is ridiculous. But I've been to like 20-something countries though. Like I have over 150,000 nautical miles sailed under my belt inside 9 years, couple deployments, again 20-something countries. Like I did more before the time I was 25 than 90% of the world will do in their entire life. I'm good. Which is why I like Sapporo so much, is because it's nice and quiet. I don't have to deal with any of that busyness anymore.
So you're just at peace out here.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of the reason why I love it. It's just me and the 2 dogs up in the house, and that's it.
Nice, man. It sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's so cool. I had no idea. That caught me off guard, man. Like I had no fucking clue.
It's one of those things. Cool. Like I don't really go around advertising it a whole lot. Like it's not that I'm ashamed of it or anything. I just never I don't really feel the need to, like it's not something I go around. Oh hey, I did this. Oh hey, I did this. I'm proud of it. It was one of the best things I've ever done. But again, I don't feel the need to go around telling people every single day, oh, I did this. Yeah.
Now, were you growing mushrooms before you were in the Navy?
No.
How'd you get into that?
No, actually, it was one of those things I got into. I'd started looking at this a couple years ago, actually, because I was on so many medications through the VA and everything, and got to a point where I was really, really tired of it. 18 medications, 70-something pills, like total throughout the day. No, I got tired of it. So I eventually started going the more natural route with myself as far as getting into like marijuana and everything. Again, became legal in Washington. I had a couple of really good friends up there who helped me kind of delve more into the medical and science side behind it. How like different terpenes affect the different receptors in your brain and everything, and the different cannabinoids like THC, THCA, CBN, CBG, those kind of things. And then the more I started looking into it, I started realizing and finding out that they used psychedelics and psilocybin mushrooms back in the day before all this pharmaceutical stuff happened, and that's how they would treat people with mental health issues.
I've read some papers that psychedelic mushrooms actually cure depression.
I won't say that it's cured it, but I do microdose because that's why I grow them. I grow them at home for myself.
Okay.
And but it's been between that, the marijuana, like I smoke a lot of that. There ain't no fans bust about that.
Okay.
But between that, the microdosing, I also take there's also like an actual mushroom, a medicinal mushroom powder that I take. It's a supplement. It's got turkey tail, lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, the miyatake, and chaga in it. All 6 very potent, medicinal, powerful medicinal mushrooms. And I've been taking that too. I take a gram of it, goes in my first cup of coffee every day, and does great.
What does it do for you?
So lion's mane has actually been proven many times over to help mitigate and kind of reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. It's also really good for like rebuilding neural pathways. Like it actually stimulates the nerve growth and regrowth process in the body. So over time, people like, I've got a really bad back injury that I had a surgery on when I was 26 years old. And I've been dealing with nerve pain ever since. And over time, it's like it's not gone away, but it's definitely gotten manageable. The reishi, for instance, is really good for a whole lot of things. It helps kind of reduce your fatigue and everything. Good for your stomach. The chaga, for instance, that's like a natural appetite suppressant, which is kind of like, I didn't even realize it. Helps give you more energy too. Let me see here. The turkey tail. Turkey tail has actually been one of those where, in conjunction with other things, it's actually been proven to like reduce and get away or like kill tumors, like cancerous tumors.
Really?
There's a documentary on Netflix called Fantastic Fungi that, I usually watch I watch like once a month, and I usually pick up something new. It's like 2 hours long.
I feel like that's what documentaries are for.
Yeah.
It's like reading a book. Read it a couple times, and you're always going to pick up more.
And he talks about Paul Stamets, who's like the biggest guy in the whole... He's like the mushroom daddy, pretty much, of everything. But he goes into a lot talking about like how his mom, like she was too old for chemo, but between the turkey tail capsules and one of her medications, she'd been tumor-free for like 9 years at the time of the documentary.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's so many other benefits behind those things.
So mushrooms are really mushrooms are really good for you.
Yeah, in general, they're just really, really good for you.
Because I've been seeing a lot of like mushroom coffee, mushroom teas and stuff, like a lot of ads and stuff.
And like I said, the powder that I get, like you can get it in a capsule too, which is fine. Like because I was on medications for so long, I try to avoid capsules.
Yeah.
But so again, it's a gram of the powder. I put it in my coffee every day and makes it your mushroom coffee.
And how long have you been using it?
About 7 months now. About 7 months now I've been taking it.
You notice a difference?
Oh yeah, and I've recommended it to a couple of other friends of mine too, and they've been noticing their own differences as well. More energy and everything as well, sleeping better, all kinds of things. So really, really good for your gut. Like I've got Crohn's and everything too, and it's one of those things that helps that.
That's cool. That's awesome, man.
Some of them are natural anti-inflammatories. Other ones help your immune system. So there's all kinds of benefits to them. But that's part of the reason why I got into it, was getting off of all of that medication I was on. I got tired of
staying organic.
I got tired of feeling like crap and feeling worse. Like I got tired of feeling nothing basically.
Yeah.
Like after on all those medications, that's what it was like. So
are you just done with the medications?
Yeah, I haven't been on any pharmaceutical stuff in like a year and a half.
Hell yeah, man.
Like almost 2 years actually.
And you always seem full of energy. Whenever I see you at the market, you always seem very like happy and awake, like really awake.
Blame that a little bit on the different mental stuff going on up here. Like my brain's all over the place. But I enjoy talking to people about mushrooms. There's a lot of regulars there. I enjoy talking to people about smoked cheese too, because don't nobody down here know what that is, and they keep trying it like you guys, and they're finding out they love it.
Yeah, I've had smoked cheese from like
the store and everything, but it's not the state.
Or like someone will say it's smoked cheese on a meal or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's not.
But no, man, I'm telling you that
I do all kinds of stuff with it
because I have the goat jack still, and I have the horseradish one. They're so good. And soon, at some point, I will be buying some mushrooms from you.
Well, since we're off for the next couple of weeks, right? Yeah. We're not back until the 6th, and I've got some growing right now. Like I've got some pink oysters that are almost done. Like I usually send out an email every week, and I'll probably post on Facebook when they're ready.
How long does it take for them to grow?
So it's an extensive process.
It looks insane.
So you can start with things as little as like these, what they're called agar trays. So they're little petri dishes, and it's agar, which is kind of like a gelatin type of mixture stuff almost. But you put like light malt extract, like a brewer's malt extract in there.
Okay.
And that's like the nutrition. Okay. So you either inject liquid culture into there, or you transfer off another piece of agar, or you can actually take an actual mushroom and you can take a clone of that mushroom. My neighbor actually got a wild oyster mushroom a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to take a clone from it, and I'm trying to propagate that out right now. So I'm trying to grow it out on these agar trays, trying to isolate it and strengthen the gene. And then once I do that, I can either take that agar and put it into grain spawn. So that part, it's just pressure sterilized grain. I pretty much use my red Milo that I get from Southwest Feed here in town. Okay. 90% of my stuff actually comes from Southwest Feed. So those guys.
Southwest Feed?
It's the feed store right here in town. They're right across the street from John Brooks.
Okay.
So they've got all the different grains and stuff I use. They've got I get my wheat bran from them, my soy meal. I get most of my actual grow media from them, so they help. It helps a lot because I can cut the cost down quite a bit. So you take that agar and you can either make a liquid culture out of it. So it's like a jar that's got distilled water and some type of nutrient, corn syrup or peptone or some other type of stuff like that. Like there's all types of different recipes out there you can use. The most common one is distilled water and corn syrup, which is for the most part what I use. But you can take that agar chunk and put it in that, and then now you can create that liquid culture, and after probably about a week or two, usually that's good to go. And now you've got, it only takes two to three at most cc's to inoculate, 1 pound jar or bag of grain. If I'm doing like a 4 pound bag, I use like 5 cc's. If I'm doing a 5 or pound bag or bigger, I just usually dump a whole 10 cc syringe in there. And so the mycelium actually feeds on the grain, and that's what it is. That's the little tiny stuff that you're growing on the agar tray. You're growing the mycelium. So when you're taking like a clone, for instance, you take a clean piece of tissue, and that mycelium will eat that light malt extract that's in those agar trays. Like that's feeding it, so that's what causes it to grow. If I'd have thought about it, I'd have brought you one to see, because I've got some cool ones looking at the house.
Man, does it ever feel like a risk, like to eat some mushrooms? Like does it
no, because I know completely what I'm growing as far as the genetics go, and you can get some of the like poisonous ones, for instance, and they tell you don't eat them.
Yeah.
But like bioluminescent mushrooms, for instance, like I can get a culture for bioluminescent mushrooms, like glow in the dark ones, and obviously you don't eat those.
They'll look really cool.
But yeah, they'll look really cool.
Yeah.
So,
oh, man.
But pretty, unless you're, like if you're growing from like somebody else's provided liquid culture or their agar plates, usually they're trusted sources that you're getting them from, like with anything. And so you know what they grow out to be. And like pink oysters, for instance, they're pretty distinguishable. Like they're a bright pink.
Yeah.
You know, or like the golden oysters, they're a bright yellow, and they've got the nice gills on the bottom of them.
See, I have zero knowledge on mushrooms.
I had no knowledge on a lot of this before probably about 6 months ago, and I kind of just fell into it, fell in love.
Yeah,
that's pretty much how I got into it.
Madman going at it, like
you should see what I do.
Walter
like
White on this shit, man.
People have asked me a few times, like, don't you feel like a mad scientist sometimes? Because I do. Like,
cool,
I do a lot of sterile work and everything else. I work in front of like a HEPA filter and everything, so I can try to keep like air contaminants to a minimum. So try to keep it out of all that, because that'll make your stuff go down the drain quick.
It just sounds awesome. It sounds so cool.
Yeah. Well, like, so after you do the grain spawn, like after that's all colonized, that can take anywhere from like 2 weeks to like 6, depending on how fast or slow it wants to grow. And then once that's done, you mix your grain spawn in with your substrate. Like for the gourmet ones, it takes, usually you use like a master's mix, which is like a mix of soy hulls and oak pellets. Or like I'm using oak pellets and wheat bran and soy bran. Like I'm trying different things to try to keep it cost effective and stuff I can just source in town. So there's all kinds of different ways you could I'm growing a lot of these oyster mushrooms in 5-gallon buckets full of just aspen bedding. Like that, yeah. You can do that.
Man, I've seen people grow mushrooms out of toilet paper.
Yeah, you get toilet paper rolls. You can do it.
It's crazy.
Oyster mushrooms will grow on almost anything. It's ridiculous.
I've seen these clips. I don't know why. Like it's just had this whole like. It's just filling my feed.
Oh yeah,
and just full of like everyone's growing mushrooms. And I seen this guy. He went and boiled like toilet paper rolls. He took the little cardboard piece out. He threw it all in a bag while they're hot. He poured all these seeds in there. He sealed it up, but like not airtight. And then he like left it in the dark. And then he pulled it. He said like a week later, brought it out, and there's like mushrooms.
Well, it's like with some of these oyster mushrooms, like in these 5-gallon buckets, like once I get to putting the grain spawn in with the aspen, it's only been probably about a week and a half. I've had to wait for a 5-gallon bucket, which that bucket usually weighs a total of about 15 pounds between the grain spawn and this, because I have to hydrate the aspen, so it's got something to grow on. But usually about a week and a half is about the most I've waited for that bucket to be ready to go before it's already starting to fruit a little bit out of the holes into it. And then I throw it in my fruiting chamber, and usually by the end of the week, depending on when I can get them in, but about a week later, usually the oysters will almost be ready to harvest. Usually 7 to 10 days from the time oysters are starting to show they're ready.
Just grow fast.
Some of them do. Other ones like chestnut mushrooms, shiitake, I'm still trying to learn to grow turkey tail. That one's a fairly tricky one. Some of those take months to grow, like really once you're inducing fruity conditions.
Do you have to control temperature?
Oh yeah. So I've got an 8x4x6 grow tent down in one of my bedrooms downstairs, and it's got a home built humidity system that's sitting right underneath my window AC unit, which is still running, by the way, even in this weather, because it keeps that room a relatively good temperature. Like, even if I've got my heater running, like, I keep that room relatively regulated with that. But so it pulls in the cold air. Like, there's an intake fan that pushes the fog through there to actually create the humidity inside my tent. But at that same time, that fan is pulling in the cold air because it sits directly underneath the AC unit. Mm-hmm. So it's taking all that immediate cold air and pushing it right, like it's cooling down and going into my tent. When I installed that window AC unit, I actually dropped the overall temperature in that tent by about 14 degrees. So, and I usually keep my humidity from between like 87 to 93% seems to be like the sweet spot for most of what I grow. Mm-hmm. So, and it works out pretty well.
Are you able to grow multiple, like different, I don't know, kinds of mushrooms together? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have an effect on each other?
Not really. Like you usually harvest them before their spores drop and everything, and even if the spores do drop half the time, yeah, it kind of sucks. But there's never been any. There's no like cross contamination or anything I've really noticed. Like if that's what people are like wondering about, like you don't really notice anything like that. Like a pink oyster will grow a pink oyster. A golden oyster will grow a golden oyster.
Would they ever cross at all?
So some people actually do like genetic breedings. Like I have this gene right now called Encebeard.
Encebeard?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a cross between lion's mane and bear's head, which are two of the same, like the Hericium, I think is the genus of the family. So then they're called tooth mushrooms. So they're kind of like white puff balls, and they have like different lengths of like teeth, if you will, growing off. I say they're bearded because, again, they just look like they have a beard on them. But they're technically called tooth mushrooms. But so that one is actually a genetic cross of the two that then we got the culture from Mossy Creek Mushrooms online. And so they did the actual genetic breeding of that one. So there are ways to do it. I haven't gone that far into it, but I definitely do all the, like I said, from the little agar trays all the way up through, fruiting them out and everything. So
that's
I do the entire process from there.
That's dope. So how did you get connected with the farmers market?
So I moved down here with some friends of mine, like I said, about a year and a half back, and we were actually doing laser engraving for a little while, and that's where we ended up setting up. Was just at the farmers market as one of the craft vendors. Okay. They eventually went back to Washington for the family stuff, and so I ended up staying down here, and I just kind of kept going and bringing the mushrooms to the farmers market. I've been regularly there now for almost the last year minimum. So
nice. And you also do photography too.
Yeah, that's another little hobby of mine too. Like I just picked up a nice little camera a month and a half ago. Camera with a couple of lenses, so I'm working on getting back into that pretty good. But yeah, I do. I like to do a lot of landscapes, sunsets, sunrises. And New Mexico, out of all the places I've been, I'm telling you, has like the best sunsets and sunrises I think I've ever seen.
Vibrant, beautiful, colorful.
Like I've gotten some of the prettiest colors, and one of my biggest claims is I do not use any filtering. I don't use any Photoshop. None of that. The only type of editing I do is I'll crop out dead space.
Yeah.
That's it. But I won't use anything else. If you find any of my photography online, I promise you all of it is raw color straight from what I can capture. I have this thought where if you can't capture the raw color, if you can't capture the raw beauty of something, you don't need to be taking a picture of it. Now, there are a lot of people that do like light editing and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what? That's great. It works for them. A lot of stuff looks really, really good. I'm happy for them because it works for them.
But you're into the natural beauty.
Yeah, I like pure.
Like it for what it is.
Yeah.
And New Mexico is beautiful. It's just giving you basically paintings in the sky.
I've had a lot of people tell me like that a lot of my photos look like they could be paintings, and I've got a couple actually printed on some different medias that I just have hanging around my house. Mm-hmm. Like I've got acrylic, I've got a couple aluminum ones, and some canvas, just photos of or prints of my photos hanging in the house, and they look gorgeous, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I've been told they look great by a lot of people too.
I've seen your stuff. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Man, no. Look. No, they always look very, very, very beautiful, very good.
Like I just took a really good one this morning, I think it was, and it was just sunrise really quick. But yeah, no, I love being able to, and that's one of the reasons I actually do like camera phones on like camera phones is because I can in the moment capture stuff. That was this morning at like 6:45. I gotta turn the rotate on. Oh. But yeah, that was this morning at like 6:45 and everything, and
You are up early.
I'm up by 5 o'clock every day, and I don't use an alarm. I haven't used an alarm in a couple of years.
And I take it that's because of the mushroom mix?
No, well, no, not that. My body says it's time to get up.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then usually my dogs are about 5 o'clock. They're waking up because they know I do, and they know that's about time for us to go outside, and we do our first potty break for the day. And I am always up by 5 o'clock, almost without fail. I can't remember the last time I slept in past 5:15. And I don't usually take a nap either. Like, I was just recovering from the flu a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first time I think I've taken naps in a long time.
That's going around right now, too.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting sick right now in Socorro.
Yeah, that was the first day I got it. I was like, oh man, I felt like crap. But it was kind of funny because at the same time, like, my Lego Mando N1 Starfighter showed up that day, so I just built that day.
Yeah, man, those are really cool too. Just all the pictures you sent me. Just building and building. Yeah, man, like, it was hard too. You seem like a busy guy. Like, you're just constantly doing stuff.
Part of that's the ADHD. Like, I can't sit still. Like, and sometimes when I can, like, on these
smoking cheese, you're doing the Legos.
Well, I do all kinds of stuff too. Like, I got I usually try to learn something new every day because I'm also going back to school. Like, I'm going back to school. I'm getting my bachelor's in business management, and I can focus on small business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that at the same time. I usually always try, like I said, I always try to learn something new every day, just in general, because, again, I have 9 billion hobbies. Like, I do reloading for my own guns and everything. I've done a lot of gun building in the past. I got into that pretty quick, and that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of knowledge my brain just retains for some reason. Like, I was doing caliber comparisons. Like, I used to work at Sportsman's Warehouse in Washington selling guns. Mm-hmm. And when I got into that behind the gun counter, like, I was always doing, like, every time I go home, like, I'm always looking up different calibers and comparing, like, how much energy they've got going out the muzzle and everything else, and velocities and drops and all that other stuff. And
you build, so gun building, like...
Yeah, I usually do my own gunsmithing.
Your own guns?
Yeah.
Like your own, your own.
I get the parts, show you how to put them all together from the ground up. Usually, I'm working on building a Colt 1911, or not a Colt, but I'm working on building 1911 too here, just from getting parts here and there. And
from Supernatural,
not that particular one, but
I don't have a huge knowledge of guns either. But when I hear the Colt, I think
that's a revolver. That Colt's a revolver.
Okay.
No, Colt's just a brand.
Okay.
No, I'm just working on building a 1911 just in the style that I really like, with the parts that I like. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, you can't do it because it's like we got to have special certain tools, and like you get them, because with 1911s they're all steel, so you have to have things machined right and everything else, and kind of make your own clearances or have a gunsmith create the clearances, everything that you need. With ARs, it's really easy. Like, it is really easy, actually. Like, once you build your first one, you're like, oh, well, this isn't as bad as I thought it was.
Does it always look more intimidating before?
At first, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've built Glocks for people.
So you just do a little bit of everything, huh?
I can do all kinds of stuff, man. Like,
do you paint too?
Ish. Not really. Like, I've done airbrushing in the past.
Okay.
And that was kind of just on layered wood projects, so it's like one layer of paint at a time. No, the other thing I picked up was I actually picked up a little piano keyboard so I could teach myself how to play the keyboard.
How's that coming along?
Slow.
Yeah.
It's not bad though. Like, I played saxophone when I was a kid. I just kind of got out of it. But I was watching some Facebook reels and I seen somebody playing In the End on the keyboard, and they were doing a tutorial, and I loved Linkin Park growing up. I still do to this day.
Yeah, no. Linkin
and Park. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a keyboard because I want to learn how to play that. And that's kind of how it happens. Like, just kind of how it happens.
You just go with the flow.
Yep.
That's cool, man. That's dope. So, I want to ask you about the psychedelics.
Yeah.
So how does that? You got it.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So how does that affect you? You said you microdose.
Yeah. So what I do is I take super small doses. Well, small doses for me, usually about a half gram to a gram. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, so actually, when I first started doing it, I actually had people were able to tell me, like, even through Facebook Messenger, they were like, you just seem different. Like, you seem more jovial, cheerful. Like your aura has shifted. Like it's because I used to be a really negative person all the time, and life was hard for a while. I mean, life's always hard, but it's been easier to manage.
Yeah.
But so I usually take enough to where it gets to a point where it makes me just where I start yawning, and that's it. Like it doesn't go with the full. Like some people, like they take the doses to try to get see the colors and do all that stuff, and not usually what I do. Like I said, I have a couple. Like I usually do one a month because it kind of helps. It's almost like a brain reset, if you will.
Okay.
At least for me. And it just basically makes it a really nice, enjoyable night. Because I usually take it about an hour before bed. And it kicks in. And I'm pretty relaxed usually. Like it's a nice setting. I usually have some... there's a song called The Wolf Song. And it's the Nordic Lullaby. There's 2 versions on YouTube. One's about 4 minutes and change long. The other is that same song just on an hour repeat. And it's just, when you listen to it, she's got a very beautiful voice. She sings in Old Norse, and it's just amazing. There's wolf howling in the background too. It's called the Wolf Song.
Yeah.
And I've recommended that song to a few of my friends with kids to actually put their kids to sleep, and it works like a champ for some of them. It's just soothing and relaxing, so it helps makes that experience throughout the night pretty good.
So when you're I guess in the next morning or the next day and you go without it, does it have lasting effects?
So it ends up, it's not like probably what people are thinking, like where it's like a super trippy all the way throughout. No, so when I say it's like a brain reset, like it actually hits those parts of your brain where like it's mood overall improvement. It's a better mood stabilizer than any medication I've ever been on.
You just feel better as you just go on through life the day after that. You don't have
the
to
one large dose,
mushrooms.
the one macro dose, we'll call it, is a month is usually kind of like the good reset, and the couple micro doses throughout the month are just kind of like your maintenance, if you will.
Yeah.
And it keeps your mood just nice and relaxed. Like my anxiety isn't anywhere near as bad as it used to be. There are times where I would be going to do all day events when I was doing the engraving, and I'd be gone from like say 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But because there's so many people going around, and just so many like customers and all kinds of people walking around, the vendors and everything else, and cramped, like I have really bad social anxiety, and most people won't ever know because if you look at me, like you can't tell.
Yeah.
The way my body does that is if I start feeling really anxious, my body gets super tense and everything else, and I just hold it. And then once I finally get home and I can decompress, that's when I feel it and everything. And like, so doing all those events, like for a day and a half at least, you couldn't talk to me or I wouldn't even talk to anybody because I didn't want to, I was too overstimulated.
Yeah.
I've been so much better since. Like I don't mind, like, if I have to do an extended, like, first of every month, usually, going around running errands and everything else. Usually it takes me the better part of the day. But when I get home from doing all that, like, I'm not usually worn out. Well, I'm worn out, but I'm not, like, overstimulated to where, like, saying I can't deal with anybody or anything.
You can accept a phone call. You can.
I can do the usual. I can do usual stuff that I need to do.
Yeah.
So
you can go out again if something just came up or whatever. Yeah.
And there are times where I've had to do that, go back in and out a few times a day, and even in like super crisis, like I have been a lot more manageable recently. Like it's been easier for me to just not overreact
and just like navigate through life. In a much, I guess, calmer, more relaxed type of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot of benefits that come from it.
There is, and it's one of those things where I've learned, because anything like this was demonized when I was growing up.
Yeah, and I, for me, the same, and that's why I was always afraid to eat mushrooms. I was afraid to just eat mushrooms from people that...
Man, I was told growing up that marijuana was so bad for everybody, and like... just a lot of really, really bad things circled around that. So I didn't even try it until it became after it was legal in Washington and after I was out of the military. That was the first time I tried it. I had a really bad anxiety attack and I didn't have any medication on me. And my friend at the time was like, well, and I'm like, well, here we go. Like, might as well.
And how was it for you?
And it was fine. Like it calmed me down after about probably 5-10 minutes. And I was able to kind of like regain my composure and everything else. And it was after that where I kind of started dipping my toes into the water, kind of starting to feel it out. And then it just kind of steamrolled from there.
Do you do edibles? Take edibles?
No, edibles don't really have an effect on me.
I hear that from people sometimes. Me, I'm just stupid all around.
I'm that too sometimes. I just have a really high tolerance.
Okay.
I like back in Washington, all I pretty much used to do was the smoke the concentrates, and I would smoke a lot of them.
Oh, man.
Because on the concentrates, a lot of them up there, a lot of their terpene profiles were specifically spelled out. So that's what I started going after was those specific terpenes to work on my anxiety and my depression. Can you
explain what terpenes are for some people who don't know?
Terpenes, they grow on the plant with the plant. It's kind of hard to explain. There's kind of the terpenes will affect different receptors of your brain. They provide some of the flavors, if
Are
you
they
will.
molecules in the plant?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Do they determine whether it's a sativa indica or?
No, that's usually kind of just the genetics behind it. The terpenes are more so just like, again, they kind of provide some of the different flavors and the different cannabinoids. Terpenes are just different parts of the cannabis plant.
Okay.
And so you can get your profiles looked at by like a genetic tester or anything, and they can tell you the levels of those different cannabinoids, like your THC, if it's got CBD in it or anything like that. They can check your potency and all that other stuff. But so you can get those looked up, like if you get it sent off and everything, and those will tell you your different percentages. Okay. So it's just a different cannabinoid in the plant, I think is the best way to describe it.
I don't know.
But they affect. There's I can't even remember how many there are. There's like a dozen or so, I think, different ones. Or there's a decent amount. But you can look online and you can see how each one, what they each do, as far as like a flavor wise, or what part, what they're good for your body and everything. Like you can look up all that stuff for all the different kinds that are out there. And it's one of those things that's not necessarily widely known about here in New Mexico that I've noticed a lot of the dispensaries. Like you go talking to some of the guys and they're not really sure. Some people are, but some of them aren't yet. And that's not something it's hard to really expect that because I know weed's still fairly new to being legal here in New Mexico. Like it's only a couple years.
And now that we have it at our fingertips now, and anybody who's listening can go to the dispensary and just buy some, I think it's time to start bringing some awareness.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of it is. Like you see the guys, they sell the medical stuff and everything else, and I would expect them to know more about how those type of things work. And stuff like CBN, for instance, is part of a decay, or not really a decayed, but an aged indica plant. And so it's got the CBD properties, but it also helps put you to sleep a little bit too. But it's from an aged indica plant. CBG, for instance, is from an aged sativa plant, so it also has the CBD properties, but that specific CBG cannabinoid helps you with like that little bit better of a brain high, kind of get more of a little bit of the awakeness. So I'm bipolar. I can't smoke sativas because of my specific type of bipolar because they actually make my brain go haywire.
Really? Wow, that's all I prefer is sativa.
Well, it's for some people that it's all that works for a lot of people. A lot of people just smoke sativas or they'll smoke whatever. But so because of my specific,
does it just throw you off balance completely?
It makes my manic episodes bad, and it will actually the sativas can actually send me into a manic episode.
Wow.
I have found us out the hard way.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's why I quit smoking them.
Okay.
And because the more research I did into this, and like I said, when I was in Washington talking to a couple of buddies of mine, one of them was a manager at one dispensary, the other one was the assistant manager at the another one. And so like when I had questions and everything, we would talk and they would kind of guide me where to look and everything and say, hey, you should go read this and this may give you some more to protect you. But yeah, and that's how I ended up finding out that for my specific type of bipolar, and they're like, I'm bipolar type 2, but I'm also schizophrenic even, along with 9 million other things. Sativas just don't work well with my brain. Now, indica's all day. I can smoke an indica all day, and a lot of people, they say indica puts you in the couch.
It does for me.
Some of them do.
But it's probably because I don't need it.
Probably. Like, I've also got sleep apnea and insomnia. Like, when the last time they actually did an MRI of my brain, and they were trying to figure out, like, hey, what's going on? Like, basically, it looked like a Christmas tree. And they were like, well... Yeah, no, my actual list of diagnoses is long, but that's why I was on so many medications.
Yeah.
But now I've been able to cut out all of those, and I do still have some bad episodes once in a while. But it usually takes a super triggering event for it to happen. Mm. It's not one of those where I usually just kind of have a really... day out of like a really just meh or bad day out of nowhere anymore. Like there usually has to be some type of triggering event. So for the most part, like I'm a lot better regulated. Like I'm actually able to be a person.
Yeah.
like you said, you see me at the farmer's market and I'm
you're
I'm all over the place. Like talking to people.
You're very nice. You're very You just seem like an all around genuinely like good dude, and you're trying to have a good time, and you're just.
I really do try to have a good time, like, and that's the other thing. Like I worked retail, after I got out of the Navy. Navy, I was also on IT, so customer service there, because anybody that's ever worked in the IT field knows that you just deal with a lot of not so nice people.
There's a lot of not so nice people as far that you run into as far as retail goes, and it almost feels like. The customer, I'll say, is they just always they put you down a lot.
Exactly.
They put you down, and they demand from you rather than, like, I guess to them they might feel like they're asking, but they really don't treat.
I was one of those
retail associates.
So when I was telling you, I worked at Sportsman's in Washington, right? So I was working behind the gun counter, and I loved what I did. Like, I loved selling guns up there. Like, it was fantastic. I loved getting people new handguns, new rifles, helping them all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, I loved it. But I was also that same guy where if somebody was having issues, I was the diffuser. Like, hey, can you come out and talk to this guy? Like, he's treating so-and-so kind of like crap and da-da-da-da, and he's getting uppity and lippy and... Yeah, sure, I got it. So
how would you go about it?
There's no set way to actually like tell you. Like it depends on the situation. It depends on what they're mad about. It's being in the Navy, as far as and being in IT, helps me deal with a lot of different types of people. So it gave me a lot of different people problem solving skills, if you will. Mm-hmm.
Do you treat the customer as if they're always right?
No, not always. I do not always treat them that way. Because what I will try to... And this is actually the same way I've started just approaching life in general for the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Because I have done my best to become more of like almost a middle ground type deal.
Yeah.
Sure, I have my own views and everything, and I have all that stuff where I have my own ideals and all that. Every person does, right? But what I try to do is... I want to see where the other person's coming from, and if you can educate me why, if you can tell me why, and okay, well, here, now we're on a mutual understanding. I know where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. Let's work something out. And it works the same way with retail customers. You find, like, if, for instance, if they're coming back because something's wrong, okay, first let's find out what's going wrong.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times where, like, a lot of it was user error, for instance.
Yeah.
Because sometimes firearms can be confusing. And a lot of it was user error. But the difference between telling somebody, hey, this is you're doing it wrong, it's a matter of how you do it,
Yeah.
Like, sure, you can tell somebody, hey, you weren't exactly doing this correctly, but let's figure this out, let's show you and walk you through it, so the next time you do go through it, you're like, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's all about how it's all about how you approach what's going on. Like, you've got to be able to kind of think really quick. And I'm going through, I'm going for my bachelor's right now in business management, and one of the last things I just got doing was working on business communication, and we were bringing up like emotional intelligence and all kinds of stuff like that, and how it applies to the workplace, and it's being able to take your feelings and almost not really set them to the side, but also understand somebody else and where they're coming from and make a positive outcome of it. And that was always my goal, and it's still always my goal. Is even if there is a not so nice interaction, let's have a positive outcome of what's going for.
Yeah.
You know, it's been my approach to a lot of things. A friend of mine, for instance, was just telling me she's always in competition at work with everybody else, and I'm like, honestly, the only person I've been in competition for the last year or so has been myself.
That's good.
Like it's the only person I want to be in competition with.
Yeah.
Because I don't care about what anybody else is doing. Like am I jealous of Joe Dirt down the street because he's got a Trans Am? Not really. It's cool for you, man, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know what? I got my own stuff I'm working on, you know. Like, I'm only in competition with myself because, like, I set little goals for myself. Mm-hmm. It's another one of those things that's also helped my brain in the process, is trying to shift how I think about things. There's a speech. There's a speech you can watch on YouTube. It's of an admiral. He was doing a Naval Academy graduation, and I can't remember his name. But one of the biggest points behind this speech was, like, it's a lot of how you talk to yourself and telling yourself like you accomplish things. His biggest thing was start your day by making your bed. If there's nothing else you do that day, you made your bed. Right?
Yeah.
And it's also how you tell yourself. You don't tell yourself, oh, I just made my bed. Say, hey, I accomplished making my bed today. Mm-hmm. Hey, I accomplished taking a shower today. Why? Because sometimes that's all you can do. Mm-hmm. Anybody that tells you otherwise, oh, no, keep pushing. Like, even if you're having a rough day, anybody says, oh, no, just push through it. You know what? No. Don't just push through it. You're going to you want to allow yourself to feel all those things that's going on.
It has that same energy, like, I get to go to work today, not I have to go to work.
Exactly.
Today. You know, I get to do this or I get to do that. Like,
exactly.
Be grateful for what you got, right?
Yeah.
And what you got going on. So.
And, you know, like, everybody's got bad days. Everybody's got bad stuff that happens. And even when I do have bad things that happen, now I'm not always the greatest at this, but usually, and it takes some reminders to say, hey, remember, like, this good thing happened, or this happened, and this happened. And so, okay, yeah, it's not all bad. Sure, this one sucky thing happened, but I got all this that I did today, or even like was able to just do this one thing today that I liked. Like, for instance, like, built a quick little Lego ship, for instance.
Yeah, and it was cool as fuck, man.
Yeah, exactly. Really again, something bad can happen, but you got that one little cool thing that you did and you're happy about.
I like how you just share it. Like, it's cool. Like,
man, I am unapologetically a nerd. Man. Hence the Star Wars tattoo,
yes,
Jack, Sally. My Joker one. Like, this whole arm will be covered in nerd stuff by the time I'm done. Like, I've got scheduled getting Darth Bane and Darth, who's one of my favorite Force. He's actually my favorite Force user ever. Bane? Darth Bane, and then also Darth Nihilus. Those two are hands down some of the baddest Force users in the Sith ever in the history of ever. They're not canon per se, but they're legends.
Yeah.
Darth Bane actually is the reason why there's the Rule of Two in Star Wars for the Sith.
Yes.
He is the creator of the Rule of Two. The Rule of Two, and he is also like the best like lightsaber duel in Sith history. Like, there's the Darth Bane trilogy you can read it, or like you can get it on Audible, but it tells you how he came to be and everything. And goes through his entire
should the Jedi have done a Rule of Two?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It really is they say they don't deal with a lot of the same emotions like the Sith do, but obviously they do, because otherwise you wouldn't have people that turn.
Well, having many Jedi was their downfall, I feel. No.
The Jedi downfall, actually, a friend of mine were talking about this.
I only watched the movies and the shows. So
you've seen Clone Wars and all that, right?
The animated series I have to get to. They came out when I was young, and at the time, I didn't watch TV like that.
Yeah, well, I only actually just finished Clone Wars the first time, like 2-3 years ago.
So I do have to watch those, but
like Clone Wars, Bad Batch, action. Rebels. I've watched all. Like, I just finished watching Rebels the other day. There's 2 seasons of Bad Batch. I'm almost finished with season 2. Like, that's what I was watching before I came over. I'm on the last episode now of the second season. But there's so much in between stuff that happens, right? Mm-hmm. So like Ahsoka just came out.
Yeah.
Most of us Star Wars nerds out there will tell you that Ahsoka is probably the best piece of Star Wars anything to come out in a long time.
Yes, Ahsoka.
But there are so many callbacks to Clone Wars, and there's callbacks to Rebels. Episode 5 of Ahsoka, where they go back there and they were doing the Clone War battles, that, and they were and Anakin showed up with the Siege of Mandalore, right? Mm-hmm. Oh man! Again, all the little things like when he called her Snips and everything. Like I told a buddy, I'm like, oh man, he said the thing he called her Snips.
Yeah.
And like it was like there's just so many callbacks that made that show fantastic. Like lines that specifically needed to be said the way they were.
And I feel like it wasn't just fan service either.
No,
it all mattered.
It did.
Everything mattered, and I like how the season as a whole grappled with Ahsoka and her relationship with Anakin and where she's at now. And
Dave Filoni's done phenomenal with any of his shows.
He is the perfect choice that to take over for George Lucas. I feel.
I think so. And even George Lucas does like a lot of his stuff too.
Well, he worked with George.
Yeah,
and he actually like that. He's what is he, George's protege or something? Like
Pretty
that?
much.
Yeah. So,
but most of us are happy with it. Like,
yeah. Did you see that he got promoted?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's gonna be cool.
If Dave Filoni could somehow get Disney to jump on board with like a Star Wars What If series, like they did for Marvel.
Man.
Like, what if
Uh-huh.
the Jedi Council actually trusted Anakin? Namely, Mace Windu. Mace Windu was the biggest distruster of Anakin the entire time.
Yeah.
But guess what? You've seen the movies, right? All Anakin, honestly, I think all he needed to not go to the dark side was them having more confidence and faith in him.
Yeah. More trust.
Like,
and if he
that could have changed the entire thing. Even when Qui-Gon died, that's another what if. What if Qui-Gon lived?
Yeah.
What if Qui-Gon lived and trained Anakin? How would that have turned out? Because Qui-Gon wasn't completely on board with all of the Jedi ideals at the time.
He was more okay. So a lot of people feel like I know people who feel a way about this and people that are all on board with this. But the Grey Jedi thing, okay. I feel like
that's what that is right there is the Grey Jedi.
Okay.
Like I know it's not canon.
Yeah.
But hands down, if you look at the way the Grey Jedi do things, that's basically
Qui-Gon and how he was. I mean, he was
basically on his way, in my opinion, to being one.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like he just was one. Just because like he was working with the Jedi. But
that's also how I feel about so if you watch Rebels, right? Uh-huh. You'll learn who Kanan Jarrus is, right?
Uh-huh.
Kanan, and this is after Order 66 has already happened and everything. Anakin's already turned to the dark side. He's already Vader. But you watch Kanan throughout Rebels, and you're like, he's kind of got that too, because he didn't have a lot of extensive Jedi training before Order 66 happened and his master died. He just managed to survive. So he doesn't have a lot of the traditional Jedi training.
So he's the Boken Jedi.
Kinda. It's worth a watch. Rebels is I love that all of the animated shows are worth a watch. Mm-hmm. Like Clone Wars, for instance. Like I've got my Lego homes. I've got Commander Cody and Captain Rex. Commander Cody was the first one I got because he's one of the best clones in my opinion. Same with Fives. Like Fives was one of the best ARC troopers, like hands down. You watch Clone Wars, you'll figure out what all these guys are. But you learn that the clones are actually people when you're actually watching Clone Wars, because the movies, they focus on the Jedi and everything else. Cool, and episode 2, they had all the clones show up on I can't even remember, Geonosis. They all showed up on Geonosis to save the Jedi and everything, like when Yoda came back with them. Mm-hmm. But you don't actually, sure, you see the clones fight and all that other stuff, but when you actually watch the Clone Wars animated series, it shows you, their entire training process, almost basically how they're created, but it shows them trying to find, their clones. They just think, oh, a good soldier follows orders. That's all they do, is they're just soldiers. But you see the clones throughout the show go through and develop identities. Mm-hmm. Why they have the names instead of just CT 5555, which is Fives. They
become their own people.
Yeah, which is why his name is Fives. It just worked out. Mm-hmm. But they don't try to use the clone trooper numbers because they're gaining their identities, and you see that more throughout Bad Batch as well, which is, like I said, the show I was watching earlier, but you see more about that, and so you realize they're sure they're clones, but they're people.
They're people, yeah.
Yeah, they're not droids that you could just throw away.
Is Omega a
Omega is she's a perfect genetic recreation. Mm-hmm. without any altering. Like she has like the original Jango Fett data that's not been altered in any way, shape, or form, not accelerated or anything.
Like Boba?
Like Boba. Omega is actually older. She was around when all of Clone Squad 99 was created. Like she watched them be created. So even though they're accelerated growth and full size to all of their stuff, Omega actually watched all of them grow, be created. Yeah.
So she's about Boba's age.
No, because Bad Batch happened.
Oh no, yeah.
Way later.
None of that happened until after. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Boba shouldn't. Boba, I think, is probably an adult by then. I'm pretty sure.
You think we'll see Omega in live action?
Maybe. I don't know. It depends on which way they go. Like, I'm not terrible.
Anything.
They could, but like, so if you look at the Star Wars content that's coming out next year, like, there's only two things. There's Acolyte and one other one, and I'm not really excited for either.
That we know of. Okay, so Acolyte, I'm interested because I have this own thing in my head. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I would like to know what goes on in the mind of someone who turns to the dark side and bleeds a crystal.
A lot of you can. There's some Vader books that you can read.
No, but like to see it.
Well, okay, fair.
Like to see it happen, like get like a good actor, you know, you see the emotion and like I feel like they'd be crying a lot. I feel like there would be a lot of like internal torment.
Well, so that's the thing too, is like, so like when I talk about the books and everything too, like there's actual comic books for all these that you read that are graphic novel sizes. And to me, those give you to me, it gives me a good representation. Like, I'm always big on graphic novels like that. Like World War Hulk. The World War Hulk and Planet Hulk, that two set is hands down like the best graphic novel series I think I've ever written or I've ever read. And it gave me an entire new appreciation for the Hulk. Everybody thinks he's this mindless rage zombie or rage monster. No. Like, that was the biggest thing I hated about Thor Ragnarok. Is they had started like introducing basically the Planet Hulk part of it, but they blew that out their butts. Like they made that bad.
You could thank Taika Waititi for that.
I know he wanted the humor to make it and everything else.
I feel like he just wanted to give everybody just a taste and smack you in the face with it and just do his own thing.
Well, and I just realized it too because I watched that Abomination Green Lantern again the other day because I was bored enough for whatever reason, and Taika Waititi's in that too.
You know, I appreciate it. I appreciate
what they tried to do, but it was a bad execution.
Yeah.
Same thing with Wolverine Origins. That was terrible and shouldn't exist. Especially that version of what they call Deadpool.
Yeah. Man, when I was a kid, that was all when it's all you
all
got.
All rage, yeah, I know.
It's all you got.
Well, no, because back then we also had Blade and Blade 2 and Blade Trinity.
Oh, yeah, but if you get Wolverine in his first solo movie without the rest of the X-Men and you want it, like, I loved seeing
I watched it too.
Sabretooth having a brother type relationship. I liked seeing Wolverine start to like grow up through all these years to see.
Now, guess what? Read the Wolverine Origins comic, like the actual comic book version of it. Read that, and you'll realize how bad they messed up the movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no.
Even though that was what we were gotten, that's what we had to deal with. Like I am super critical when I watch those things, like because I try to read a lot of these. And
all these years, and we never see Wolverine's son.
Yeah, no, they never introduced Dakin.
Yeah, no, all these years you have Hugh Jackman in the role, and he's getting older. But like,
I actually thought they were going to maybe introduce Dakin when at the end of Origins, and she died after she grabbed Stryker's leg and made him go walk off. Mm-hmm. I actually thought maybe she might have been pregnant with Dakin at the time, and
that could have been perfect. I feel like that could have redeemed the movie in my eyes.
It might have, but again, Dakin's a really hard yeah.
I remember there was a time when Dakin was like being talked about so much, and everybody wanted Taylor Lautner to play Dakin.
Oh God, no. No.
I think it was at the height of Twilight and everything.
It doesn't matter.
So everyone was asking for
I have tried watching the Pattinson movie with the Batman with Bruce. No, I can't.
Why?
Because he's a terrible actor.
You think so?
Absolutely, I cannot make it. Just like Andor.
Is this based on Twilight, or have you seen
I've seen a couple other of his films just to try to get that Twilight out of my head. And it's no.
Maybe I didn't watch Twilight enough, or I only ever seen it really.
No, see, I'm
not attached to Twilight.
Like Joaquin Phoenix, right? Joker.
Okay.
He did the most recent Joker portrayal.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Joaquin Phoenix fan. Like, I don't really like a lot of his acting in general. Like, he's mediocre in my opinion.
Okay.
However, that particular role of Joker that he played is tied with Heath Ledger's in my opinion, because Heath Ledger just was one of the best portrayals of Joker you'll ever come around, save Mark Hamill voice acting.
Nowhere.
Exactly. Now, Joaquin Phoenix, what I like the most about his version is, so, I was telling you before, I have a lot of mental health issues and everything else. Mm-hmm. That movie shows you just how messed up society is and how it treats people with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people didn't like it, and it was like, you get all the warnings there, because I remember there being such a huge deal when that movie came out, and about how dark it was and everything else. I'm like, it's not that it's dark, it's bringing to light how society treats us that have mental health issues.
You know what I loved the most was, so you get like Suicide Squad with Jared Leto's Joker and the Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
So when that movie came out, people at the time were like, "Oh my God, I'm so crazy. I'm in love. Me and my significant other are crazy just like that."
So you have Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, they romanticized being crazy, right?
Yeah, no.
But then when Joaquin Phoenix's Joker came out, not a soul. Nobody was acting like they were crazy like that. Nobody wanted to be that kind of crazy. Nobody... And
so there's a reason why I actually
awesome.
have the Joker tattooed on my forearm. So the first few years after I got out of the military was some of the hardest I've ever been through in my life. I had a really bad drinking problem for a long, long time. And it was bad. I ended up quitting cold turkey after...
Sometimes that's the best way to do it.
Well, it was after a very unfortunate event that didn't work. But I ended up quitting cold turkey after that. And worst 8 weeks of my life, I swear to God, after that. That was miserable. But about a year or so later, I actually ended up getting the Joker tattooed on my forearm, because for a long time I used to try to pretend that my mental health issues didn't exist, or I'd try downplaying them, make excuses and this, that, and the other. Just try to pretend they weren't there. He makes me wear them on my sleeve. I can't hide from that. I look at that every single day. And so it always keeps it in the forefront of my mind that, yeah, sure, I may have a whole bunch of upstairs, there's a whole lot wrong upstairs. And yes, I do acknowledge that they exist. Now, he's just really good artwork in general. He was done by a friend of mine in Washington who did a couple others of mine. But yeah, no, he makes me wear my mental health issues literally on my sleeve. And I don't really have a problem talking about them anymore. It's one of those, I try to make it a point, and that's the other reason why I got into the mushroom and the weight stuff, because my mental health to me really started mattering.
Yes.
And it's made me a whole heck of a lot happier since.
And being more organic about it and coping with it and everything.
Oh, yeah.
In day-to-day life.
And no, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. There are medications do work for some people. And when they do, I am super happy for them. It's just not one of those things that works for me. I've been through it. I've tried so many.
And everybody's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's it's not I'm not dogging it or anything. I do appreciate it when it does work for certain people. When it's treated the right way with the right medications, you're good. I'm happy for you. I'm glad. Just for me, it didn't work, and I was on too many.
I like that relation you have with.
Well, it's I have that same relation. I have that type of meaning for almost all of my tattoos, right? So the Grey Jedi one, right?
Yeah.
You look up the Grey Jedi code, and they're basically the anti-heroes of the Star Wars verse.
They're I feel like they're treated like the red-headed stepson.
Basically, they're not technically canon and all that other stuff. But again,
Disney kind of
Disney blew canon out their butts. They're just putting stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that's the Grey Jedi. The Supernatural one. My best friend's daughter and I that's one of our favorite things to geek out about.
Yeah.
She's actually getting the matching one for her graduation present / Christmas thing. Because again, that's our favorite thing to geek out about, right? So that's why I have that. I've got a Volbeat tattoo, Disturbed, Slipknot on my leg. Slipknot's been my favorite band since I was a kid. To me, there is no other better vocalist than Corey Taylor.
Yeah. I grew up with a lot of psychosocial blaring at my house.
Volbeat, usually if I am in one of those really down moods, I have never skipped a song from Volbeat. They're one of my favorite bands to see live, same with Slipknot. But in a lot of their music you listen to, it's got a really positive, upbeat vibe to it. And it's just one of those that kind of helps. Disturbed is still to this day the only band that has made me break down in tears at a live performance. It was in Washington, and it was at Pain in the Grass, which is one of the festivals up there. And he was it was right before they were singing A Reason to Fight. Mm-hmm. And at the time, again, I was going through a whole lot. And even though you're surrounded by thousands of people, because you listen to that song, it's about people dealing with addiction and trying to find a reason to stay alive is the entire thing behind it, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, you keep finding the reason to fight for the next day. And this was back, it was a little after Chester Bennington had committed suicide, and just talking about all types of mental health issues. And it's one of those, again, thousands of people, but it feels like he was talking to you personally, and I busted out in tears. I didn't even care. And they're still the only band to this day to do that.
When I heard about Chester,
that was gut-wrenching.
Yeah, that felt like my stomach fell out of my ass. Like Linkin Park too was always playing. Growing up,
they're another one that they're next on my band list tattoos.
That hit me really hard, and
it made
me realize you can actually feel that way over people you don't know. You know,
I'm honestly not terrible. I'm not huge on big, like a lot of the celebrity deaths. Like a lot of them, mm-hmm. Some of them suck. Sure.
Yeah.
It's always terrible when somebody dies. Like I don't try to downplay
attachment to it. Like Friends. Matthew Perry just died. Friends for myself, my siblings, because
I see the Central Perk sign.
Yeah. We love Friends.
Yeah.
Friends has been part of our lives and will forever will be. And when Matthew Perry went, that was like I lost a family member. That felt bad.
The two biggest ones where I've actually felt a lot of loss was Robin Williams and Chester Bennington. Robin Williams, because I watched a lot of his stand-up. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of his stand-up that you don't see anymore unless you're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, that man says some offensive stuff, and a lot of people don't realize it.
Oh no, yeah.
But I appreciated the way
Same with Bob Saget.
Oh yeah, he was great. But like Robin Williams, the way he kind of approached the world and viewed the world, and it's always the people that you see smiling that are usually not doing the best when they're smiling like him. And between him and Chester's death, even though they were years apart, those both of those kind of made me realize a lot with myself. Like I hide a lot behind humor. Mm-hmm. I really do, but I also pride myself in the fact that I can usually make anybody laugh, no matter how bad they're feeling. I will do pretty much anything I can to try to get that person to laugh, because I know what it's like to not. Like, I know what it's like to not have a reason to want to smile, so I usually do my best to do that for other people.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of what he did in his later years. Like, he was going through a lot, but man, he did what he could to make everybody smile and try to make that pain go away for them, and I understand that.
Chester Bennington's wife was talking about how they were playing board games and stuff as a family the night before he did it.
I saw that.
And that's why I feel like you have to look out for the people who are having a good time. Don't just send out your thoughts and prayers just in bad times. Send them out even when you see them thriving, when you see them doing good, because, I mean, the internet's a big lie.
It is.
And no one's going to post the bad stuff. And don't get me wrong. Like, if you, like, I'm not
there
saying...
are some people that overshare. I used to be one of them.
Yeah, and there's people that'll record themselves crying and then they'll post it. And I don't believe in that either. But at the same time, not everyone feels comfortable like sharing everything, or if they feel like if they were to speak their mind, it'll just sound like a cry for help. And
now
they
there
mocked.
are certain things that I don't speak about with people unless I'm really close to them and attached, because those are just things I don't think people need to hear about.
Yeah.
But I do my best to give people that outlet, because like, look, I'm non-judgmental. I don't care what walk of life you've been through. Mm-hmm. I don't care how much money you do or don't have. I don't care your political affiliation. I don't care about whatever type of religious thing you believe in.
You are a human being.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, I am not a religious person in myself. I am a spiritual person, but I do my best. Like, I will never tell you I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I will hands down never tell you that because I don't believe anybody should.
Mm-hmm.
I will, however, tell you I do my best to be a decent human. Why? Because that's what this world needs more of. I try to do my best to put the positivity back in that I want out of this.
They need more decency, more genuine attitude.
And I don't want to be that judgmental person, because if somebody is having a really, like, I've been one of those where I've had a really bad time and I've tried to reach out and you just deal with judgmental people, and so you don't ever do it again. And that's what could potentially make somebody not be here the next day.
That can make someone snap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do what I can to not be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll say, like, if you're going through something, like, I don't care what you're going through, like, talk to me.
Yeah.
If you know what, if you need a different way to look at it, maybe I can help provide that.
Mm-hmm.
If you just need a listening ear, by all means. If you need to come over for a cup of coffee and sit down and snuggle with my dogs and play with them, because that's what's gonna do it. You know.
Yeah.
I will do whatever I can just to make sure somebody knows, because I just lost a friend recently to suicide. It was right before Thanksgiving. And that one hit hard, because the last time I actually went into inpatient, which was a few years ago, she was one of the few people who actually did call to check up on me, and and she had gone through some stuff, and I'd been there before for her before, and we saw a really, really scary post, and I was seconds into trying to call and everything when I saw it, and her phone just rang and rang and rang and rang. And by the time somebody got there, it was too late. And there was a lot of us that took that really, really hard, and this friend, because she was a genuine light around anybody. And like, I don't know, like, I don't know. Sometimes I still almost feel like I failed, maybe, because again, like, she used to come with me to a lot, and like, I would try to be there for her like she was for me. And I got her thing from her service that's hanging on my fridge right now, because a friend of mine mailed it to me that went. So I and don't get me wrong, like, I have thought about it, and I've tried many times myself. It's not one of those things I'm proud to admit, but I've tried many times myself and just failed. Why, I don't know, but I'm still here. But so I do my best to keep. I don't want anybody feeling like that. I don't. Yeah, it's a hard thing to.
There's a saying. I don't got it word for word, but it's something that said, basically saying, God takes people, good people soon, because He's saving them from something much worse.
Yeah, there's also one of those reasons why I'm not terribly religious. I don't necessarily believe in one God. I know a lot of people that do, and that's cool. Do your thing, If that's what helps you be a decent human being the next day, by all means, please do. Like, again, I don't care if you believe in God or Buddha or whoever.
Believe in yourself.
As long as that's what helps you be a decent person, that's all I care about. Like, I don't care what you believe in.
Yeah.
But like the saying where God, they say God only gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. Like, I'm tired of being strong, like, I've been through a lot of really bad and dark stuff in my day. And like, I had a therapist tell me straight up, she goes, I don't know how you're still alive. And I'm like, you know what? I don't either.
Yeah.
And like, that's also another reason why I pretty much like Socorro so much, is because it's my peace.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere in the desert, like 2.5 acres with my dogs. We're getting on with the mushroom stuff, going back to school.
You're just vibing, you're just doing what you want to do, and you're living your life, and you're having a good time. I
don't have to deal with I don't even leave Socorro a whole lot. Like, I don't like going to Albuquerque. I don't like going too far out, because I'm like toxically attached to my dogs. I will be the first to admit it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah, your wife made them the stockings and everything. Yeah, and those guys, the other folks at the market made them their little ornaments. They're all hanging on my wall.
Yeah, that's awesome. She showed me a picture that you sent her. Yeah. No, it's awesome.
But I don't know. I like being in my peace, and that's what I've been able to establish here, has been my peace. And after growing up, basically, really fast. I joined the Navy when I was 17 years old after I graduated high school a year early. And
Wow.
did all that. Been all over the world.
Did you at all feel like you bit off more than you could chew when you did that?
Oh, yeah. I actually joined the Navy, and I went through the nuclear power pipeline. And I tried to get into that field first.
Okay.
I made it 2/3 of the way through, and I ended up failing the final exam and then failed it out of the pipeline. Now, being 18 years old, and that was what I had my heart and mind set on, I beat myself up for a long time. Like, that one took a lot of time for me to forgive myself for. But my brain, no matter what I did, just couldn't process how they taught. Because I'm a very visual, hands-on, like, I have to understand what I'm doing. I have to understand what's going on. When you're going through that pipeline, it's a lot of theoretical press the magic I believe button. I can't do that. Because once I start hearing something and I want to know how, and I have to know how it works, like, I start digging and I keep digging until I know the ins and out of how it works. Just the way my brain is. But I couldn't do that fast enough. They crammed 4 years of education basically in like a year and change.
Jeez.
Yeah.
No,
so they the nuclear power pipeline is the hardest one mentally, as far as like how much information they're pushing into your brains. Like, obviously, like the SEAL, EOD stuff, that's like special forces. That's like the most intense, rigorous on your body. But as far as like your mind goes, the nuclear power one is definitely the hardest one. So I ended up failing out of that, and then my job went to navigation / like electrician, basically. And I got super smart and all that. And then I eventually cross-rated into the IT field when they put that job on submarines officially. So, and then when I did all that too. Got out, and like I was doing back-to-back deployments, volunteering for rides and stuff, and I went to another boat right after my first one, and the guy who gives me my orders was like, "Man, don't you want to go to shore duty?" And I'm like, "No." Because what's wrong with you? And I'm like, "I just want to go back to sea." I was really good at my job, and I loved what I was doing at the time, so why not? I didn't want to be on shore duty. Like, I'm in the Navy. Put me back out on the water. But eventually, like, I ended up having a seizure, and that's submarine disqualifying by itself.
Yeah.
Tried to figure out what happened. It was basically a one and done type deal.
Disqualifying because it's just everything that goes into going into the ocean.
Yeah. You have to have a certain mental health clearance, and there's certain things you just can't have. Like, the submarine force makes up like 2% of the Navy, so they're pretty strict on. Well, usually supposed to be pretty strict on what they allow in. Some stuff you can make work and get waivers for. Seizures aren't one of them. Because what happens if you're in a life or death situation, and that happens?
Yeah. You seize up and...
You've got to be able to rely on the guy next to you to not have that happen.
Yeah.
Especially on submarines, because you are enclosed, and that is... Like, you trust the next guy with your life. That's just... There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That you have to. But yeah, so I did that for, 9 years, and I had that seizure thing, and then I ended up messing up my back again really bad, and I had to having surgery while I was active duty, and I couldn't recover fast enough, so I got medically discharged. And that's part of what sent me into more of a downward spiral, is because I loved what I was doing so much at the time, and then now my body's failing me, my brain's failing me, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I stayed up in the Washington area, then moved down to California, and then Hawaii, back to Washington, and then Hawaii, and then back to Washington, and blah, blah, blah. And
you just...
For the most part, I was almost always happier when I wasn't in Washington. And then last year,
Socorro called?
Well, my friends were talking about moving out of town and everybody, moving out of state.
Yeah. And
we had made a decision of, hey, I'd go too, because I didn't really have a whole lot of tying me there. And I wanted to get out anyways. We landed on New Mexico as far as like weed, gun laws, all that stuff, cost of living, and this is New Mexico where we landed on, and then actually we landed in Socorro because where we're staying at now, where I'm staying at now anyways, they rented to us. They said they'd rent to us without us seeing it at first, and we'd sign the lease after we got here.
Nice.
So it just happened to be random luck that we ended up in Socorro. They eventually went back to Washington, like I said, for some family stuff. And I stayed down here. And it's been fun. Like, I am I love being in quiet little... I love being able to go 5 minutes down the road and then come back home. Like, I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Everything that I actually need is in town. Everything I could ever need. Yeah. I don't need to go anywhere for a whole lot of other things. I go to Walmart, Brooks, go to eat a couple times. Found a barber here who actually cuts my hair and my beard. Like, she's actually great because she's the only one in the history of me having a beard that actually listens and cuts my beard correctly and how I like. And, oh, it's great.
Who's your barber?
Her name's Lindsay. She goes. She works at the Plaza Salon. I know she also works in Berlin right now. I believe, but she works at the Plaza Salon. I think she's there on the weekends, Mondays and Fridays sometimes now. But yeah, no, like I love it when she cuts my beard. Like I said, because it's perfect every time. She cuts it. It's like she actually fades it right and everything. Like I've had people where if I tell them only cut off a little bit of, I only cut off the very dead stuff at the end, like your split ends.
Yeah.
They just like lop off 90% of my beard, and like I know better. Like I know a lot more of it's healthy than what you're cutting off.
Yeah, I don't trust barbers.
No, well, I don't trust a whole. I didn't trust a whole lot of anybody either. But and I had met her by chance. Because I was getting lunch from Kendall, Wandering Scorpion, one day, and I accidentally I talk with my hands. I'm very expressive. Like anybody that sees me at the market, they know I'm very I use body language a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up swinging my hands and I backhanded the tip jar I made forward, so it broke on it shattered on the ground. And so I went over to the Plaza Barber, the beauty salon, she let me use her dustpan and broom to clean it up, and then she was talking. She said she likes cutting beards and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's see how good you do. Yeah. Won't go back to anybody else.
That's awesome.
It's perfect every time. Like I said, I get everything I need. Like I love to cook, so I can get all my meats and stuff. Usually at Walmart or Brooks, and like we had the butcher come through a couple of weeks ago. I got some lamb and some stuff from him, and that was pretty.
Butcher? What butcher?
There's I got his card at home. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I get emails from him now too. But I got some ground lamb and some beef from him and some steaks, and I'm on their list next year for some prime ribs, some brisket, and a couple other things. I'll have to let me see if I can get. Let me see here. But they're great. Like, then their meat is definitely top quality. I got lamb bones from them from my dogs, and the dogs loved those.
That's awesome, man. I've been looking for a butcher for a minute.
They're basically out for the year. And they'll be done. They only sell usually like September through December usually, because that's when they do their slaughter and everything and processing. That's kind of when they more know for sure what they'll have. But you can get on their email list ahead of time and say, hey, this is what I want. So when they're getting ready to do stuff, they'll reach out to you and, make sure you're good.
And they ship it to you?
They're local.
No, they're local here.
Yeah. I didn't ask them if they shipped. They might, but they're like I said, they were at the market. They just brought their...
What?
Yeah. Like I got a couple ribeyes. I got a couple ribeyes in New York, some ground lamb, and then some lamb bones from them.
Because every time I go to the farmer's market, I don't go there too often.
Right.
I try because I'm always working. It's always at the time when I'm working. But I always try to make my rounds to see if there's anything interesting. Or maybe next time. Like, and I feel bad because I'm always telling people next time. But like I mean it though. It's just next time I get there, I don't know when it's gonna be.
Yeah. So like your wife, she's got the little mushroom that I bought from her. I keep that on my table. The guys that sell the honey there, I actually just bought a mead making kit, and I'm gonna try making mead.
Okay.
Yeah. But come beginning of January or the second market, I think I'm gonna get a gallon of honey from them to try to make the mead with.
Okay.
But their kids, I think they said do little rosin pours or epoxy pours, and so I got a little epoxy mushroom from them just to put on my table. I usually have an amber necklace that I have. The amber came from Margie over there. She does she did a lot of the jewelry stuff. She's a little older lady. She's super sweet, super nice. Holly, who does the holiday yoga, she actually did the wrapping for me and made it a necklace for me. It's sitting at home at the moment, but yeah, no, she made my between the two of them. That's where my necklace came from the amber. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I try to keep little things there.
There's a lot of love, man. There's a lot, and you got a lot of love for this community.
I do, and I like the fact that it all kind of we all function off each other.
Yeah.
I try to get some spent, I can actually sometimes use spent grain from some of the breweries. So, I get some grain sometimes from the Capitol after they do some of their small batch brews to try to grow some mushrooms with and everything. And so I try to, recycle some of their waste because I can,
Yeah.
And cool. Some of the guys around here, the mushroom blocks, you can use them as, additional soil nutrients. So they're good for growing. I've grown lettuces and spinaches. I've got in that same soil, I've got a pineapple growing right now in a mixture of some old mushroom fruiting blocks, and it's a soil mixture too, and it's growing pretty good. I got a Velociraptor aloe that's in a little mix of that type of soil.
Velociraptor aloe?
Yeah, it's just a cool little aloe, and it's got little red tips on it sometimes when it's really, really hot during the summer. It's really cool. Huh. Only reason why I got it was because of the name. It's because it's a Velociraptor aloe.
Sounds really cool. My son would be interested, actually. He's big in dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's a cool looking little plant too. Well, it's pretty big now. I could probably try to take a couple of pieces off it and try to grow them out. But yeah, I definitely could. It's got that much size on it now.
That's cool.
I've got a couple of pygmy date palm trees. I do indoor gardening too.
You're just busy.
It's with the indoor gardening stuff. So I grow my own weed and everything along with the mushrooms. But for the indoor gardening stuff, I grow the lettuces and spinaches and a couple greens and stuff here and there. And I'm doing tomatoes and everything. And I bring those to the market too. Now those, I don't usually try to make money off those. Mm-hmm. I gave away a gallon Ziploc bag a couple times full of spinach and lettuce. Just because.
Yeah.
I bring it to the farmer's market and give it to people because, those aren't where I'm making my money. And where I'm growing them, those areas are already being used for other things. This is just supplementing what I do in that space.
Yeah.
So I spend a little bit of money on soil and seeds, but, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So the green stuff, I don't really eat vegetables, really. As much as sure I'll talk about them, grow them, but I grow them only because I like watching stuff grow.
Yeah,
that's it. And I just I either sell them I either sell them super cheap or end up just giving them away. That's not really where I try to make a buck. But yeah, no.
Man, you seem just a really just a genuine nice person. Really,
I do my best to be. Like I said, I do my best to be.
Yeah, I think you're a great addition to Socorro and to the community, and I think you have a lot of love, and I think a lot of people have a lot of love for you and everything that you do here.
It's funny because nowadays, especially in the last 3 months, I go through Walmart. I don't even have to be wearing anything mushroom related, and people are just hey, you're the fun guy.
Yeah, dude, I think that's awesome. I don't even call you by your name when I'm talking.
Most people just call me the fun guy.
Yeah, I'm the fun guy, the fun guy, the fun guy.
Almost everybody calls me the fun guy for the most part at the farmer's market now. Yeah, and even in town, and you know what? That's fine. That's cool. I'm happy. That's what people know me for.
I remember the first time I met you, and you were showing me the pictures and stuff, and you're I'm the fun guy.
Again, that's pretty much what everybody refers me to as.
And I was that's awesome. And then I seen the way it was spelled on your shirt. I was dude, that's really cool.
And you see the happy little mushroom dude, and you realize that's me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's simple and he's happy. That's the way. That's honestly the way I'm trying to be now. And because I spent so much of my life with so much chaos and everything else, this is my peace. It's yes, I stay incredibly busy, but it's peaceful. But that's part of why I got this big girl tattooed on my arm.
That's really
she's got the original artist is on Instagram. She's super awesome. I love all of her artwork. It was one of those you pay $20 and she says okay cool. Gives you her permission basically to. Get her artwork tattooed. The only thing she wanted was a picture of it.
Yeah.
Duh, sure.
Yeah.
But so she's got the mushrooms and stuff growing on her, the chanterelles and some of the oysters and the dandelions and stuff you can see up there, the little little bits coming off, and just the flowers coming off and everything, and she's just
so cool.
she is simple and elegant, and it's just it's peaceful, and that's part of my life right here.
Yeah.
That's why I got her tag.
That is cool. I think I want to wrap it up
Yeah.
now. Thank you for coming on to Life at Night and just
I could talk for hours, man. That's why I was like, man, can we do this a little early? Because otherwise I'll talk for hours and I'll regret life later. Because again, it doesn't matter when I go to bed. I'm always up at 5 a.m. I could go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. I end up by 5 without an alarm. Rare that actually happens, but like I'm always up by 5. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's awesome.